Welcome to Kapella Industry Insights Podcast, where today our guest speaker, Erik Good, our Senior Project Director at Kapella Group and Global Construction, is going to be discussing unit turn renovations and for your multifamily units, including some of the overlooked details that can quickly eat at your budgets. And so, Erik, I just want to ask you, first and foremost, as a recap, what goes into the unit turn process?
It starts early on when asset managers or ownership groups target a property and they go into underwriting and they go into budgeting. Those are closely aligned, although not exactly the same. In the budgeting process, you want to get going on that early, like I said, and they want to be able to figure out, first of all, what their hold is, like if they're going to have a 3 to 5 year hold or a 10-year hold or whatever, because that's going to be very important when it comes to how much money they're going to spend on the properties, what their return on investment's going to be.
Does that kind of vary between, how would you know, I guess the ratio between somebody who's holding for 3 to 5 years, somebody's holding for 10 years, is it kind of just all across the board, or?
For most of the 3 to 5 year old people, they're looking at more value add properties, so they're going to buy properties that are a little more distressed, that are going to hopefully be purchased at a greater discount, a better deal, and then they're going to come in and they'll infuse a bunch of money, typically into the outside first. They'll do exteriors, they'll do deferred maintenance, kind of spruce up the property, make it more appealing for people driving by and the people that live there, obviously. So they'll do that first typically, and then they'll kind of get into the actual amenities and the units.
Okay, and then so that's somebody who's holding for maybe, you said 3 to 5 years. What about somebody who's holding for 10 years plus? What would that look like? Would that be a little bit different?
They in some ways it would be. They would probably, look at maybe not rolling out these renovations as quickly. Depending on the condition of the property dictates most of it. And where are you purchasing? Is it a up and coming neighborhood where they're building new schools and they've got good real estate values that are increasing and businesses that are moving into the area and whatnot. So it just, there's a lot of different factors that weigh into that.
And I mean, you've been in the industry for a long time and you've been in other states. Do you feel that that's kind of the same across the board in every state that you've worked in, or does it kind of differ depending on the states and, just the way that those states work and everything like that?
Yes, the states that I've worked in have been states that tend to hyper appreciate and hyper deflate. It's not, it hasn't been real steady markets. It's been, rapid growth and then, some drop off fairly quickly. So, these, for example, in Arizona recently, over the last couple of years, they've had very high returns on investment down there in multifamily. So,
right.
It just, the markets, like I said, that I've worked in have been pretty inflative and depressive at times.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and then kind of moving on from there, I want to ask about the designers. When would you involve a designer in this process?
Well, a lot of these, you've got a Class A properties, which are, very, very nice. The top shelf properties, they have a lot of amenities and great areas, and they charge a premium.
Right.
So those, if they are redoing those certainly, they would definitely involve a designer. The ones that come across our desks, we see those. And you got, Class B, Class C, and sometimes they'll involve a designer, on the corporate level. If they're a large operator and they have a lot of properties across the country, they'll try to standardize things, in a lot of ways, especially with their colors and their branding and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Those will be standardized. As far as the units go, those are more subject to regionally, if people, like carpet, like people in the Midwest love carpet, so they own carpeted areas, in the Southwest, your hard surface tile, LVP, sheet goods,
Okay.
those kinds of things. So it'll be dependent on that. And then the color schemes as well.
Okay. And it's all differs. So, okay, cool. Now, what are some common items that eat into the budgets?
Oh, wow. A lot of, especially recently, right? We've got supply chain issues. We can't get products, labor issues.
Yeah.
People are really charging, or wanting to get a lot for the labor. People come into us all the time with very little experience that want, a lot of money per hour to do those, to perform the task. So you've got those issues. You've got, fuel charges, delays eat into the budget. So you've got, all these things that are really, you have to factor those in. You can only factor so much in on the front end to make it pencil out. But these budgets are, really part of your business plan. So that it changes, it fluctuates, as the months and the years go by. It's going to be a living document. So you want to cover yourself in the event that things don't turn out like you would like them to.
'Cause it happens.
Absolutely. But you can't also be paranoid and
Right.
that either. So.
And okay, so let's just say from 2 years ago, or even a year ago, 6 months ago, when it comes to these, things that are eating into the budgets, causing friction and whatnot. From your experience and what you've seen dealing with this every day, how does that differ from 2 years ago to a year ago, 6 months ago to now? Has it kind of got a little bit better? Has it kind of streamlined? What's it been like?
I would say it hasn't gotten better, really. I mean, it's kind of, people say they see, the light at the end of the tunnel now, that it is easing up a little bit. Some supply chain issues that we've seen recently, they have eased up a little bit, but we're still seeing labor force issues and labor issues. Those costs have gone up quite a bit. And with inflation and everything that's going on in the economy, I don't really see that regulating anytime soon. And the materials, the pricing has definitely gone up. We're getting price increases, weekly. It seems like on so many items. So you have to factor that in, and then see if they still pencil out. If you're still going to get your return on investment. I mean, because you can only bump the rent so high.
Right.
I mean, everybody goes, we can increase rents, and that's great if you're, giving amenities and fixing up the units and
Making it worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly. But we hear so many stories from tenants that we're on site and we're doing property walks, and the rents are going up quite a bit. So everywhere.
Okay. And when it comes to the labor force specifically, even from going to different states and whatnot, I mean, from a general contracting point of view, do you feel that there's benefit to hiring in-house workers, or finding outside labor sources, or kind of as far as like budgeting the unit renovations and kind of getting everything streamlined? What do you find being the most valuable when it comes to the workforce?
I think overall, when you're considering all the aspects of getting the job done on time, on budget, it again is dependent on the region you're in. But I think we have traveling crews that travel to do these unit renovations, and then we'll also hire local crews as well. But I think what we found personally, as a company, is that the in-house crews that travel tend to be more productive, turn out a better product more quickly to meet those time deadlines, And I think that's probably what we found for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So kind of moving on from there, let's talk about I want to specifically talk about Kapella Group's design build process. What does that look like for Kapella Group?
It can take, many different forms, obviously, from inception through, renderings, architectural, down through the complete, design of the finished product, whether it be multifamily or senior housing. On that end, or we also consider design build as well on the some of the CapEx projects and some of the unit renovations, as far as helping design some of the amenity spaces that our clients have. They know that we do this day in and day out, that we've got quite a bit of experience with what works, what doesn't work in different areas, and at least being able to give input from the early stages on those types of projects.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, when it comes just in a nutshell, setting the expectations when budgeting, your renovations, is there anything else that maybe we didn't touch on that you think is valuable or important for our listeners to know about?
Recently, we've been working with a company that'll remain nameless, but they provide the initial bid packages for unit renovations, and I think they're kind of branching into some common space renovations, and they have in-house designers that will follow the lead of the individual ownership groups or management companies with regard to what they want to have as an end result. And they will get all the floor plans, get all the dimensions, put together the specs, and they will send us out an RFP request for proposal to bid, and they'll obviously do that for multiple GCs. And even if it's in a remote market, because I think right now we're bidding projects for them in 6 different states. So It doesn't make sense a lot of times to be on site at all those initially when they do their property walks, because that's how most people structure these. Most groups will have these big property walks with all of the contractors on site, and those are good, but I like this methodology because it lets everybody kind of throw a bid. They'll look at the bids, they're standardized, and then they can kind of pick through and see who they want. They'll typically pick the 2 bids to do a site visit, and then do the final measurements, and then give their final and best bid. So it helps streamline the process. It helps make it quicker, I think more efficient, and I think a lot of the ownership groups and management companies out there see a value in that. So I kind of like that process.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, we appreciate your time here with just sharing your wisdom, sharing your thoughts, sharing your expertise with us on this subject, because we know it's a very hot topic right now, and it's good to just kind of educate our listeners and get an inside view as a GC. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Do we get lunch or anything?
Yes.
Okay, good.